Hello everyone, I'm AndyDavo and welcome to my guide to Underworld Denizens for Blood Bowl 3. In this video I'm going to cover lots of different sections. First of all we're going to introduce the team, and then the players and how they work, both individually and collectively. We're then going to talk about how they're leveling up the players, and what you might be expecting to be able to do over the first 10 or 15 games. I'm going to cover starting rosters for you. Then we're going to talk about strategy for Underworld Denizens and how you can get the best out of them there. And a little bit how you stop them as well, as a lot of people have asked for that. Also going to look at offensive and defensive setups with some explanation, how a drive unfolds using these setups, and then finally what inducements you should be expecting. So let's move into the first section. Okay, right, let's look at the team. So Underworld are a collection of Skaven with some goblins and some Underworld, and then also they have access to one of two different big guys, either the Rat Ogre here or the Underworld Troll. So there's an awful lot of different player types, and to get the best out of the team, you've kind of synergized all of those different things, put them together, and make them work. So first of all, I'm going to talk about the Skaven type players, which are the Blitzer, the Gutter Runner, the Line Rats, and the Thrower. So we're going to go to the Players tab, and we can see them there. So the Skaven Blitzer, first of all, we only get one of them. We will be taking it, and it starts with block. It's movement 7, strength 3. It's got a reasonable agility stat of dodging away on a 3+, and it's AV 9+. It's all right. It's a pretty good player. It does cost 90k. Not that that matters, but it's quite expensive. So the Blitzer, its primary function isn't necessarily to be a Blitzer. It depends a lot on how you build, which big guy you take. If you take the Rat Ogre, which is at the bottom here, you're going to be building the player as a support player. If you take the Troll, he probably is going to be the Blitzer unless you're taking star players. So there's an awful lot of stuff to try and get together here to try and understand how to take these players. Broadly, you're going to take all of the Skaven completely because they are the best players. So we'll take one Blitzer, one Gutter Runner, 3 Line Rats, 1 Thrower, and they are you just take them. Functionally, the Blitzer generally provides the support platform and allows you to get blocks off. The Gutter Runner is the player that actually runs the ball an awful lot of time. You don't actually tend to pick the ball up with the Thrower and hand off. You tend to just take the ball with the Gutter Runner. You'll take all 3 Line Rats. The Line Rats are there to just stodge out the line and provide you with some strength, much needed strength 3, because, oh yes, strength 3 is about as good as you get on this team. You take all 3 of those. And then the final one, the Thrower there is, again, so you don't have to take a Goblin. You can build him into a Thrower, but typically you'll use him as a 4th Line Rat. We then take the Goblins. We'll just jump over here. The Goblins are the filler of the roster. So you'll take as many Goblins as you need to get to 15 or 16 players. More on that later. Typically that's around 2. And then the Snotlings, because of the swarming mechanic, which again I'm going to cover later, you'll take all 6 Snotlings, and you want to make sure that you've always got 6 Snotlings available whenever. You get a choice of one of 2 different big guys, the Rat Ogre or the Troll. They both do have some benefits. If we cover the Troll first of all, the Troll is a lump. He's AV 10+. He can sit in the middle. He has the ability to throw Goblins and Snotlings at things. So your 1-turn touchdown, that is a viable way of building him. So some people will take the Troll. He does unfortunately have really stupid, so he won't always do as he's told. And he's also movement 4 rather than movement 6. So if you take the Troll, we'll be building the Blitzer as the Blitzer, because someone needs to be doing the blitzing. And if you take the Rat Ogre, he will be doing all of your blitzing every single turn unless he gets KO'd. And the Rat Ogre has a very interesting feature, which is his nega trait is Animal Savagery. If you've not encountered that before, that means that if you roll a 1 when you try and make him blitz, or if you roll a 1 to 3 and you're trying to move him, then he will do as he's told, because he'll punch someone next to him, and then he'll do as he's told. So what people will do is they'll put Snotlings or Goblins next to him. If they roll the 1, it doesn't matter, you punch one of your own team, and then he goes off and does exactly what you wanted him to do. So that's why he's incredibly reliable, because he will always blitz. He's the only big guy, broadly, that will always do as it's told, provided you can feed him first. Because he's got Frenzy, because he's got Strength 5, and because he's got reasonable skill access, for me, the Rat Ogre is the player to take, and you just build him you build him into your Blitzer. And then that actually frees the Blitzer to become not the Blitzer, but the support player, so that the Blitzer takes guard as his first skill. So if we go back over to the players, I'm now just going to cover off, I've put it into the description, kind of how I would build these players. So Blitzer takes guard first, to support you being able to get 3 dice blocks off with a Rat Ogre. Then I would take Mighty Blow and Tackle in some order, depending very much on terms of what you're going to be facing. If it's a lot of dodge teams, of course take Tackle. If it's a lot of fighty teams, then Tackle's not very useful, then take Mighty Blow. And then I would always round it out with Claw. They're the first 4 skills that I would take. Other skills that I think are worth looking at, there's 3 of them. There's Grab, there's Stand Firm, and there's Horns. Those 3 skills all allow you to do something different with that player after you've taken the support skills. So depending on where you might want to go, they're the support skills. The Gut Runner's job is literally to pick the ball up, be safe, and score reliably. So with that in mind, I've put in 3 skills that all aid into that concept of being safe and then being able to score. So block, absolutely critical, gives you block and dodge on a strength 2 piece. You're going to need that. It gives you some survivability, and I would take that first. The second is 2 heads. That turns him into pseudo Edge 5 or Edge 1+ as it is now, which means that you can dodge through a tackle zone on a 2+ with dodge. That's brilliant. And then extra arms lets you go and recover the ball if you've managed to pop it loose and pick it up, or if it's raining or you need to catch the ball in a tackle zone. Gives you some utility. It just makes the player better at carrying the ball, moving the ball, doing ball related stuff. There is an argument that you will get more skills. Other skills that I think you could certainly consider, things like Sidestep, Fend, Horns maybe, those sorts of things, just to give you some utility to be able to do extra stuff. And of those secondary skills, probably Sidestep is the most important because it will aid you in being able to score 1-turn touchdowns. That could be more important than one of the core skills there, which is extra arms. Entirely about how you play and what you might be looking to achieve, but yeah, it's in there. The next thing is the Line Rats. I'm going to do a section on how you actually kill with Underworld and how you actually play them. So that'll make more sense. These level ups will make more sense in that section. But I think there really are only 2 skill ups that you're looking for as normal skills on this Line Rat, and they are Dirty Player and or Wrestle. So if you've taken Dirty Player, then you should take Sneaky Git. Once you've got 2 Dirty Players, then the third one I think takes Wrestle. And really, you're not looking to level this team, period. So don't go crazy and start sticking Wrestle and then 2 heads and then Fend and Tackle, Strip Ball. No, that's not what this team's about. This team is about staying low to the ground, no more than 1,300 team value, period. And Dirty Player, Sneaky Git on probably 2, even possibly 3 of the Line Rats is not insane. But if you're going to put a normal skill on them, then Wrestle, I think, is a good solid skill. The next one, the Thrower. On the basis of the Gutter Runner just carries the ball and does everything, the Thrower really should just be used as a leader caddy. An Underworld reroll costs 70k. So if you take Leader for 20k, you've saved yourself 50k. And as I said just a moment ago, it's about keeping that team value down. So I think Leader is a very good opening skill. And the other one is Block. After that, do what you want. There's nothing particularly wrong with taking things like extra arms or 2 heads. But again, they're just going to add a little bit too much value. And I think you're going to find that when you start playing at 1,500 team value against the other teams, this team will fall apart. So I wouldn't advise going past the 2 skills, Leader and Block. But yeah, it's up to you. If you want to go that way, mutations to be able to move the ball around probably are order of the day. The next one is the Goblin. I've actually written nothing. Again, I don't actually think you need to be leveling the Goblins at all. If you do decide that you really want to level them, then taking 2 heads so you can move them around on 2+ is certainly fine. Don't take 2 heads on all of them, maybe 1. Again, it's about keeping the team value low, but 2 heads, Horns and Wrestle are skills that typically people will take on Goblins, but it starts making the Goblins very expensive. And they are actually your linemen. They do stand on the line of scrimmage and take hits. So be careful with these. And Strength 2, AV 8+, and they've got Stunty, so they get injured a little bit more as well. They're really not going to be getting 2 and 3 level ups unless you're potentially in a league setting. Snotlings, you do not want skills on Snotlings. If you want to random out a Sneaky Git, fine. But other than that, as soon as they level, fire them. There is no good skills to take for Snotlings whatsoever. Do not take any skills. Do not pass go. Delete them when they level. At that point, I would be saving for a stat so they don't level, and then they will just cycle themselves with their AV 6+, and with Stunty, they die all the time. In fact, they tend to just get hit once and then that's it. They've left the field. So Snotlings, no. And then the final player, I've gone here for the Rat Ogre because I'm not taking the Troll. Although if you really want to take the Troll for the one turn, fine. So the Rat Ogre, the first skill you want to be taking is saving up for a secondary skill and taking Block. That makes that player an awful lot more reliable, and it means that you're more likely to knock stuff over. So Block is his first skill. Claw is his second skill, because now everybody is armor 8+, which really helps with deleting people. And then after that, Guard and Juggernaut are probably the other two skills that you're looking to take to round the player out. Guard, because it helps when you're trying to do fouls, and Juggernaut means that when you roll skull both down, you're able to just keep pushing and it stops you getting stuck. So those are the 4 core skills on the Rat Ogre. After that, people start taking some creative skills. Pro I've seen on players, but it's getting expensive. I've seen Break Tackle, but I think that's dangerous. Dodge, but I think that's expensive. I really would just save those 4 skills and then stop. Stand Firm is another maybe skill, I think, on a Rat Ogre. But really, you just want those 4 core skills. All in, that explains kind of how to level the team up. I think now the next thing to talk about is strategy and setup. We're going to go into formation here, and I've got defensive formation. And this is one of the very few times I actually think that the boat formation is the right formation to take. So, first of all, what have we put on the line of scrimmage? I've put 8, 6, and 9. So that's 1 line rat and 2 goblins. The goblins go on the line because if they die, well, they've got dodge, so they might survive, might. Against low team value, there's a reasonable chance. At higher team value, they just get smushed. I've put 1 of the 3 line rats on the line. That then gives me the boat formation. So I've put the Rat Ogre at the front, 1 line rat here, and the other line rat here. If they've got Sneaky Git and Dirty Player, I'll probably swap one of these for the Thrower. If only one of them's got Sneaky Git, Dirty Player, it definitely gets swapped for the Thrower. But at the moment, just because the Thrower is marginally better than a line rat, I've hidden that. The other players in the back line, I've hidden the Gutter Runner, and then I've hidden our Blitzer, which means that we've got 2 spaces left for 2 Snotlings. So I'm only fielding 2 Snotlings on defense. And that's because of the way that the swarming roll works. The swarming roll is a D3 roll, and if I roll a 3+, I'm going to be able to bring 2 Snotlings on. To get all 3 Snotlings on, I'd have to field 3 Snotlings, and then I'd have to roll a 5 or a 6 on the, or D3. I'd have to roll a 3 on the D3 roll, which is only about 33%. So only about a third of the time am I actually going to be able to bring on all 3 Snotlings. So I think it's better to aim at 2/3 of the time you can bring on 2 Snotlings, and it doesn't really compromise my defensive setup, right? I've got 2 goblins on, I've got a line rat, that's fine. And then in terms of where you bring the Snotlings on, they have to go not in a wide zone, so they can't go over here, they can't go over here, and then they can't go on the line of scrimmage. So they can broadly go anywhere here. So at that point, I would be putting them in and just putting them probably to protect the Rat Ogre, and I fill in these sorts of squares, or I do something like that. So the Rat Ogre, it's now very difficult to knock the Rat Ogre over straight away, and also it means that when they put the assist in here, if they don't knock number 4 over, I can punch straight backwards. So that 13 square is quite important. You don't want to make a box here, because boxes are bad for chain pushing. So I like to go 13 and 15 if I'm bringing 2 on. If I'm only bringing 1 on, then I'm bringing on 13 there. Or if I think they're going to hunt the Rat Ogre, I'm using it to cancel assists here and here. That's swarming on defense. On offense, entirely depends on how many players you've got. And I will always pretty much choose to kick first, because this is where the strategy piece comes in. This is the setup that we've got here. The red B there represents the ball, and then the silver players represent our setup. So in the first turn, our strategy, our overall strategy, is we're going to kill opposition players, and in the second half we're going to score 2 touchdowns if we need to. So I don't care about the ball in the first half at all, and if our opponent is set up the ball here and then it's got players probably in a nice defensive line in these squares here, we're going to be targeting players in this area here. And we're going to take our entire team, and this is definitely not how you normally play, we're going to take our entire team and then we're going to attack that space. So as green, we're going to go and we're going to blitz with our rat ogre into here, and then our entire team is going to move away and move over to here, and we are going in that direction. And we've blitzed with some rat ogre, and then we're going to surround that player with as many players as we can and foul it. The counterplay for our opponent, so what we'll end up with is we'll end up with our team broadly in this sort of green box here. We will end up being in this area here. The red player, if they are new, will see the space and take the ball and run into your half down here. And the ball will end up in this area here. And they will end up with their team in a box around there. But they'll probably end up with one player somewhere just loose, right? There'll be a loose screen and then their ball. Our second turn, we'll continue with our strategy of murdering something, and we'll go and attack that player. And we'll knock it over the rat ogre, and then we'll foul it if we need to, and it will go away. And over the first 3 or 4 turns, we will ignore the ball, and the ball will go towards our end zone, and it will go there with an escort of players, probably 3 or 4 or 5, and you will split the red team in half. And all you will do is consistently ignore the ball and kill something, and keep going and killing it. And by turn 5 or turn 6, you will then have a decision to make. And that decision is, are you going to continue to take that strategy and you're going to aim for a 1-turn touchdown or a very quick score in your start your second half to then turn the opponent over? Or do you think actually you've not done enough damage, permanent damage, to be able to turn the opponent over, in which case you need to shove them into the end zone? So on turn 5 or probably 6, you take your entire team, everybody goes in that direction towards the ball, wherever they've come from, they go down there and they chase the ball carrier in. And this is about 2-1 grinds. So all games are you're aiming for the 2-1 grind strategy, not playing traditional Blood Bowl where you actually try and play Blood Bowl and stop the opponent and play strategy. No. We're not doing any of that nonsense. We're going to be playing Murder Bowl where we're trying to kill our opponent and stop them dead in their tracks. Now we've got set up, we've got the strategy, and we've got the team. Let's go and have a look at starting rosters as well. So, Underworld starting roster number 1. First of all, Underworld have so much money, it's insane. So the starting roster really is only actually one of 2 different solutions. So you can see here, I've already bought 16 players, I've bought 2 rerolls, and I've bought 6 dedicated fans. And I've still got money in the bank, right? And I've bought all of the positionals. So the most expensive big guy, all the positionals, 6 snotlings, because we always want 6 snotlings to be able to swarm with. And then I've built 3 goblin linemen. There are a couple of questions. Question number 1, do you want to play with 15 so that you've got space to roster on a star player? Or are you just going to play with a full 16? That's a choice, and that determines a lot on the team value that you're at and the team value you think you're going to be playing around in. So in a private league where teams are going to 1100, 1200, 1300, and you're holding at 1000 team value, suddenly you cannot field a goblin and you can field Varag, for example, or you could field Morg, and that's an incredible power jump. So you will want to be playing with 15 players more often than not. If you're playing in the public matchmaker, where teams are matched at team value, and you will be given other 1910 teams, then you probably want to play with 16 players, because there's no point having that roster slot open because you're not taking a star player. And in fact, the first 50k, you will always take a bribe, because that synergizes with the level ups of the dirty player and the dirty player sneaky git that we talked about earlier. Ladder play, I've discovered that 16 players is the way forward, as unless I've got an incredible amount of bank and I'm going to be buying Morg, then I think 16 players is the way forward. League play, I think it's probably 15 once you get slightly further into the league. We're just going to have a quick look at roster number 2, because I think roster number 2 gives me a bit more flexibility to explain. So here I've taken the troll, I've taken all the positionals, and I've got 16 players. But if I go into recruitment, you can still see I've got 75k left. I've taken 2 rerolls. I could easily step that up to 3, not a problem at all. I could pick up an apothecary. That's also very viable. And I'll be matching off 875 team value. So broadly, Underworld are, you take absolutely everything, always take 6 snotlings, always take all of the Skaven, pick the big guy that you want, and then you take 2 or 3 goblins, depending on what you actually want to take. If you take 2 rerolls, you're building into 2 rerolls and leader. If you take 3 rerolls, you won't take leader. and you'll just take block on the thrower straight away. In my first ladder set, I took 3 rerolls. I think probably it's slightly more optimal to take 2 rerolls and then take the apothecary straight away and then take leader on the thrower very quickly. I think that is a better solution than the one I actually initially went for. And here I would always take the troll. Yeah, the roster really just is everything, all of it, 2 rerolls or 3, an apothecary or not, and 15 or 16 players. It's not a particularly well thought out roster from Games Workshop, in my view. It does one thing very, very, very effectively, which is murder stuff. And then once that trick is run out because you've gone to too high a team value, it's a terrible roster. But oh well, there we go. So that is rosters. Right, let's move on to the final section, which is inducements. Okay, so in looking at inducements, when it comes to Underworld, again, we have to remember that the most important strategy that we're trying to achieve is we're trying to take their opponent's team and whittle them down to 6 or 7 players. So in the second half, we can take the ball off them and score. Or if we did score at one turn, we can just have a very easy second half. So because of that, we want to be taking bribes as our first inducement. Notice that they're also only 50k because we got the bribery and corruption special rule. It's not currently coded in the game properly. It doesn't let you re-roll a 1 on Argue the Call, but you definitely want to be taking bribes. After that, we might actually consider things like 2 kegs, because our players are so fragile they do get knocked out, and or a biased referee. They are the most important items from this list. And then once you've got through those things, once you've definitely taken bribes, they are unequivocally the thing that you take, then let's look at star players. So star players for Underworld, Varag is probably the most important star player from a cost likelihood point of view. He's strength 5, he's got mighty blow 1, he's also got block. He's a bit like having a second rat ogre on the team. Take that. If you can afford Morg, great, go and buy Morg. And if not, then the other 2 star players that you might consider are Hackflem, if your gutter runner's missing, and Ripper, just because he's a big lump. Other than that, make sure you buy bribes. Just make sure you buy bribes. With that in mind, I hope that really helps. Overall, I think Underworld are a very, very tricky team to play incredibly well, but I think they are a easy team to play to a moderate standard. The overall strategy, I think, is about killing things and then moving on to the second half to take the ball off people. I don't think they're a particularly good team. I do wish they hadn't been released yet. I think we should have released the other teams, things like Necromantic, Undead, Wood Elves, those core teams that we need on the ladder. And I'm really nervous for how Season 2 is going to play out because new players are not going to enjoy getting their first experience of Blood Bowl 3, where someone just runs over them and fouls them and kills them and kills them and kills them. So, yeah. Anyway, I hope you found the guide useful. If you have, brilliant. If you'd like to come and follow me on Twitch, I do stream on a Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday evening, and also on Saturday and Sunday evenings. And maybe I'll see you there. The link to my Twitch channel is in the description below. Thank you very much. And until next time, I'll see you soon. Bye-bye.